Hey guys, welcome to Massive Iron Live. How's that camera doing? Welcome to Massive Iron Live. How's it going, guys? Happy Friday. It is, what is it, July 21st? My internet doesn't look great today, so I hope it's not too choppy for you guys. I got like 800 dog bones over there in the corner, so ignore it. Welcome to Massive Iron Live. Let me know if you guys can hear me okay, if you got any issues with video quality. I'm trying to work on that. I'm in a new place, and sometimes a video or the Wi-Fi sucks, so I can't really figure that out. For those of you guys new here or tuning in late, I'm here every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern, and answer your questions. It's the longest running live Q&A, I think, in the entire history of lifting, or at least that's my claim. What are you guys doing this weekend? Are you doing anything fun? Doing anything exciting? I had a really good week. I've had a really good month of training, actually, really on a roll. Hit 315 by 8 on bench press. Doing really good. For being an old AF. I'll be 56 this year, but I'm feeling juicy, right? I'm not slowing down. So anyway, how are you guys doing? Hit any big PRs this week? Let me know in the comments, and we'd be happy to acknowledge your victories. So if you're new here, don't be shy. Post up questions. Post as many questions as you want. I'm here to help. There are no dumb questions, no stupid questions, just awkward questions and unusual questions, something like that, right? Don't be shy. Don't be shy about posting your questions up. I'm here to help. If your questions don't go through, it is not me throttling you. Okay, it's not me throttling you. It's not me filtering you, screening you, or anything like that. It is simply YouTube. YouTube can be funny sometimes. So, yeah, if your questions don't go through, try to repost them, reword them. And if that doesn't work, you can head over to Instagram, app and the barman, slide into my DM. And, I answer every question through Instagram. So, yeah, that's it. Just checking any of the comments to see if the video quality is okay. It's really bothering me right now. It's only showing 1 bar out of 3, so I'm getting super paranoid. So what's going on, guys? What's going on? Any good videos this week that you watched? Any controversy in the lifting world? Any craziness or madness? The lifting world can be really crazy at times. So I always like to check in on the big hitters to see, what's going on, if I'm missing any of the drama, right? The drama. We got a new program I'm going to be working on soon. And basically what I'm going to do is introduce a new progression scheme, one that is based on the progression scheme I used for the rep goal system. But basically, I'm going to break it down into dynamic double progression or double dynamic progression or whatever you want to call it. When I started out on bench press, what I would do is I would have a weight, I would have back down sets. So I'd have I remember when I was young, I'd have 275 and then 245 and then 225. And I'd push each set for max safe reps. And that's kind of the base. That's kind of the basis for threes right now. My threes training protocol. But what I would do in the back in the day is I would have progression going through puberty. I would have a progression indicator for each set. So 275, if I hit 6, I'd add 5 pounds. 245, if I hit 8 or 9, I'd add 5 pounds. At 225, if I hit 10, I'd add 5 pounds. So that's dynamic double progression or double dynamic progression, or however you want to say it. But I'm going to be coming out with a new program basically based on that for the big lifts called Massive Dynamic. So keep an eye out for that. All right, let's roll into things, shall we? Let's see what's going on. I appreciate all you guys' support. Before we get started, just a quick commercial. I had a client leave yesterday, so I have a new coaching spot. If you're interested in coaching, where are we? If you're interested in coaching, go over to superlivingtoday.com. And sorry, I've had a week of tough lifting. I got some crap in my eyes. Go over to superlivingtoday.com and check out the coaching tab. You can also go to Instagram at the Barman, and there's a link in my bio where you can fill out the application to coach. It's not complicated, but I'd love to work with you. If you've never had a coach, I would strongly consider one. My rates are very, very fair, and I'm with you 5 days a week. I leave you alone on the weekends, but we do weekly check-ins. What we do is once you sign up, we set up a time to talk. We develop a custom workout plan of attack. We go over form videos every single day. You can submit a form video every day. We look at your workout reports every day. We look at your weight twice a week. And I try to stay on top of everything. And I really try to encourage communication from my clients. And is this an center or is it just messing with my head? I try to really encourage communication from my clients. So if you are interested and you're frustrated with your results, please check out the coaching tab at superlivingtoday.com. It doesn't matter what your goals are. I'm going to work with you, whether you want to train for a powerlifting meet, or I've had people train for a bodybuilding show, just train for general fat loss. Some of my folks just want to add 10 pounds of muscle. That's fine. Whatever your goals are, I'm going to meet you where your goals are at and help you efficiently get there. So enough of the commercials. Follow me on Instagram at the Barman. And let's roll. Let's get into comments. The more comments, the better, guys. So fire them up today. And what do we got? Woodulus from Scotland is first today. How about Scotland in the house? When are you getting a forced sausage? Hey, Snoopy. Let's see if Snoop comes. Buddy boy. Buddy boy. Buddy boy usually comes. There's Buddy boy. There's my sausage. Come here, Buddy boy. There's Buddy boy. This is my sausage. Oh, I know Buddy boy. He's never too far away. This is Buddy boy. My wife calls him Chi-Chi because he's a tiny little Chi-Chi. When we get a new house, we're going to get another dog. I want to get a bigger dog. I love these guys. These guys are so loyal and faithful. Just really good dogs, really fun dogs. But we're thinking about when we move into our new house in November. You're a good boy. You're the best boy, Buddy boy. You're the best boy. There you go. All right. Enough wieners, right? I got my things all screwed up here. Yeah, we're moving into our house in November, so we're looking to get a forced sausage. And Stein, how's it going, Stein? Welcome to the party. Tim from Team Massive. Big Dean Patterson. What's your favorite cigar? I have a lot of cigars I like. There's a Hoyo de Monterrey makes some good Maduros that I like. And my favorite brand, though, of non-Maduro is Davidoff. Davidoff is super expensive, and I don't do that often. But man, if I was rich and Donald Trump, I'd be flashing those Davidoffs because I just enjoy them. I enjoy everything about them, and I think they go really well when I want to have a bourbon or Scotch. Usually, I've been really trending towards Scotch lately. The peatiness of Scotch, I don't know. I just tend to favor that over whiskey. You're the only fitness channel that doesn't promote the nonsense that sleeping 6 hours a day is going to completely ruin all your gains. Yeah, look, a problem with a lot of the fitness world is, and I don't ever want to generalize, right? But, you have a lot of young people who have a lot of optimal time to optimize sleep. And then you have Dr. Mike. No disrespect to Dr. Mike, but I know he's bonging it up or whatever he does a lot. I don't think he has kids, a lot of free time, and sleep is anabolic and all that kind of stuff, right? You know, I had my hardest training, strength training, when my children were young, and I was very sleep deprived. It's not going to ruin crap, guys. I mean, if you don't sleep well for like 20 years, you might have an issue, right? There might be some other things to worry about there, but it's not going to ruin your gains. It's not really going to. The body is going to adapt. So if you put stresses on the body is not that fragile. If you put the body under stress, from hard training, it's going to adapt, and you're going to be absolutely fine. So I'm not trying to encourage you guys to have poor sleep habits. Not at all. Sleep's very important, and maximize it all you can. Rest, take a siesta, 10, 5, 15 minutes a day, do whatever you need to, right? But, this paranoia in general in the lifting industry that we are so fragile, right? The reference to the Christmas Story movie, fragile, right? We're so fragile that we get one thing wrong, we're going to lose all. If we run after lifting, we're going to lose all gains, right? Cardio, we can lose all gains if we don't sleep optimally. Really, it comes down to training and nutrition. You nail your training, your training is hard. You nail your nutrition, you're good to go. You're really good to go. That's 95% of this game, and don't lose sight of that. I got the ceiling fan on, so if there's any noise in the microphone, let me know. My wife, we're constantly fighting to keep the temperature normalized, so I usually lose. Pringle cake. I see people at my gym doing tire flipping, ball slams, wagon wheels. No, not really. I mean, somebody's going to get their undies in a bundle, as my mom used to say. Yeah, my mom used to say that. Don't get your undies in a bundle, right? Whatever the heck that means. Some weird, obscure saying from the 70s, right? But look, that stuff's good for general physical conditioning, but you can't overload that stuff, really. I mean, you could. I mean, if you had like 17 different tires and you put together an elaborate flipping, progression scheme, but that's general conditioning stuff. It's not bad. It's like body weight conditioning stuff. I love doing body weight conditioning stuff. We used to do it every day. We used to have what we called the 100s, where me and my wife would do 100 reps of just body weight stuff, whatever I felt like that day. At least 100 reps, push-ups, jumping jacks, pause jump squats. You can do this stuff. It's good for general conditioning and good for general health, but I wouldn't call it gimmicky, but you need to do it after muscle building. Muscle building is a specific process. We try to overload, and this type of stuff, like pounding a tire with a sledgehammer, is good for conditioning. And someone will say, my dad was a lumberjack and he was big as I, yeah, you know what I'm saying? But look, I mean, convention is convention in muscle building, and this stuff you can do after your muscle building. It's more general body conditioning stuff. It can have its place, but it's not going to have a dramatic impact on muscle building. Big Chef, what's going on, Big Chef? I don't know what you're cooking there, but if you could become the official Massive Iron Chef and whip us up some recipes, we'd appreciate it. Big Bob Fish, do you have any clients that enjoy intensity over volume so much that you've reduced their volume? No, I mean, every client is fluid, so we try things, we evolve things. But there are no Mensa-ish heavy duty type of programs. We do some pretty intense stuff. Some of my clients do some pretty intense stuff, like 1.5 reps and, things like that, 40 rep sets, rest pause sets. We do some intense stuff, but we do it with moderate volume. And these guys can handle moderate volume with these intensity principles. They don't have to reduce it to the absurd, so to speak. So, yeah, I got some clients on some pretty advanced stuff, but we have to kind of ease into that to make sure they can handle it. And no, I don't just inherently reduced volume. I'm not a fan of that. Everybody's workout's going to be 60 to 75 minutes, and we're going to, in one way, shape, or form, volume is going to be equated regardless of the system. It is. So, like, we have 30s and 40s in the massive iron world, like 30 and 40 rep rest pause sets. You could do a machine overhead press, right? With 30s or 40s, 30 reps rest pause. That's an intensity technique. And super intense, close to failure, rest pause. But overall, that's just going to replace a 3-set protocol. So they're pretty much equated. In fact, the intensity techniques are going to be a little bit more intense than probably a standard 3-rep set. So the volume is not deflated or de-escalated or reduced. It's actually replaced by something that's probably a little bit harder. I'm not a big fan of reducing volume. I want to see my guys have solid work capacity because I believe that's an integral part of building muscle mass. So there are no really minimal types of programs. We try to really, for the advanced lifters, we try to maintain that intensity, or we try to maintain that core volume and just increase the intensity. Big Dean, how many sets per week to generally recommend for quads? 12. That's a good starting point. It's not a rule. It doesn't mean everybody needs to do 12. Doesn't mean you can't do 9. Doesn't mean you can't do 15. But 12 is a good, reasonable starting point for quads on a weekly basis. Basically, 4 exercises, 3 sets is a starting point. It's not a rule that everybody has to do. And you can have a scale of which 4 exercises you'd like to do, like squats, leg press, leg extensions, hack squats, Bulgarian split squats, whatever. The trad wife. Am I saying that right? I don't know. Well, hopefully I am, so I don't get in trouble. What is your opinion on barbell hack squat? I have no negative opinion on it. It is a lift that a lot of people will not feel comfortable for a lot of people. So if you can do it and it feels comfortable and you enjoy it, it's worth doing at home. I've definitely had clients that we have plugged it in as an option at home. We just kind of have to plug it in and see what we think. How does it feel? Do I like it? Does it hurt my lower back? Does it feel natural? For some people with their limb lengths and leverages, it's going to feel like a really awkward lift. So try it. Don't hesitate to elevate the bar off the ground by blocks or by the rack a little bit, 1, 2, 3, 4 inches, if it helps the feel. Does that make sense? I'm a dad. What's your superpower? Do different rep ranges help more with strengthening connective tissue? Not really. I mean, think of this in the long run. Okay, think of this as a 10-year journey, and we're going to train hard for 10 years. You're going to inherently use a variety of rep ranges. You're going to inherently use different exercises, different programs. It's a 10-year journey. So we can't get lost in the weeds where we're focusing on one blade of grass, right? No one over 10 years uses one rep range of 9 or 10 or 8 or 7, right? All of us, I've never seen it. It could be done, right? But who on God's green earth is just going to do 3 sets of 8 for 10 years on every exercise? It doesn't exist. So it's kind of a non-question. Does that make sense? So therefore, don't overthink it. We're always going to use different rep ranges when we're training hard. You get in on the bench, and some days you're going to hit a 4. Some days you're going to hit a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? That's inherently built in. So when I say it's a non-question, I hope you understand what I'm saying. Different rep ranges are going to be the natural outcropping of our exercise selection and preferences. So on squats, if you prefer 4, 5s, or 6s, some of you might prefer 8, 9s, or 10s. It's not going to matter. If you get all of these lifts super strong, not powerlifting strong, just super strong, your connective tissue is going to be fine. You don't have to overthink this stuff. Does that make sense? Big Chris, for someone who isn't weightlifting, what? Chris, are you okay? Chris, you're not weightlifting. Chris, here's my phone. We might need to set up a time to talk. I care about you, Chris. Team Massive cares about you, Chris. We love you like the brother we never wanted, Chris. Just kidding. Just humor. Chris, I don't know what's going on. Maybe you're injured. For someone who isn't weight training, how important is it to be careful, less aggressive in a calorie deficit? If you're not weight training, it's not going to matter. I assume you're going to get back to weight training, but the fear might be that you're going to lose mass. Don't worry. If you're not training, you're better off just getting the fat off, right? Get the fat off. That's always a priority if you're going to do an aggressive cut. If you lose any muscle mass when you're not training or periods where we can't train, don't worry about it. Muscle memory is your friend. It'll come back. It'll come back. It's always comes back easier and quicker than last time. So even if you lose a pound or two during an aggressive cut, like let's say you can't lift for 6 months. Let's say you're way at basic training for 2 months, as an example. And you couldn't. I mean, this isn't the case for you because you're talking about an aggressive cut. But if I went into basic training and I probably lost 3-4 pounds of muscle, right? Comes right back. It comes right back. It does once you get into normal training. Like you are strengthening the muscle cells the way I understand it, fortifying the muscle cells and adding like mitochondria. You're changing the structure and the dynamic of the muscle cell, right? You're not adding new muscle cells. You're strengthening that muscle cell. So it's kind of like putting an addition on a house. You can temporarily empty that room, empty that addition, but you can still come back and move back in with ease. Does that make sense? So don't worry about it. Fat loss, the priority is always fat loss. Let's get the fat off. Big Barbell Bryce from Team Massive. Morning, Team Massive. I love weighted pull-ups, but I always find that when using a dip belt, the plates swing around a lot. Absolutely. Dips for me. Let's just talk about dips. I know you're talking about pull-ups, but dips, body weight, I like to be very, very stable. Like I like my torso to be angled slightly, and I like to be stable. Pull-ups are going to be the same thing. You don't want to have to fight that swing. So if you can add some weight via a weighted vest, those get pretty expensive, right? But I would love to see your pull-ups. Some of this comes down to discipline. Some of it does. Are your pull-ups nice and controlled to begin with, or are they a little bit more reckless? I don't know, but I would like to check your pull-ups just to see. And you're on Team Massive, so get a video of them, and that's kind of work from there, ground up. Let's see if we can make sure they're nailed from the ground up and then kind of build from there. Big Tim. Last week, you suggested doing 4 sets of pendlay rows at lower reps, about 6 reps from the current 3 of 8. If so, would you keep sets for other rows the same? I keep them the same. Like, this is what I call evolving training based on needs, okay? I do not like high rep pendlay rows. I don't enjoy them. They're taxing from a cardiovascular standpoint. I feel like I become more worried about my conditioning than I do the actual reps, right? And it's not like I have poor conditioning. I know we get the comments on here like, you're just a fat, out of shape. Yeah. You run 10 hours a week, they still call you that, right? So that silliness aside, I find I want to be focused on the reps on pendlay rows. So I find when I do 4 sets of 6 or 4 sets of 5 or even 5 if you want to do, I find I can focus better on the rep quality. And that's part of evolving training based on needs. You can give yourself freedom to adjust for whatever reason. It doesn't need to make sense to the guy next to you in the gym. It just needs to make sense to you as long as it's reasonable. But I don't change other exercises. We are changing pieces and parts of one exercise at a time, right? So let's say you're doing pendlay rows and you're doing lat pull downs and you're doing seated cable rows. Every exercise is an island. Seated cable rows, sometimes I like to just do 5x10s on a given workout for no reason at all. So I allow myself to make changes as long as they are reasonable. Does that make sense? Rico, how's it going? Rico, welcome to the party. Rico, we got to get you posted on Team Massive more. I see you lurking, man, but you got a little single teardrop roll down my eye. You don't post more. Just kidding, Rico. I'm glad to have you here. Root, how's it going? The king of aggressive fat loss. Curious to hear how you came across the Slingshot. What was your first impression? It was random. I had the Forum Muscle and Brawn back in the day. Don't go look now. I don't own it. It's owned by some pro hormone selling pieces of slime balls. I sold the website. I didn't have time to keep it up. That was back in the day when I had V Bolton, and I needed a full-time tech guy, but wasn't really making any money off Muscle and Brawn. Anyway, back when I owned, I have to caveat that because I don't want anybody to support that site now. Back in the day, 2007, 2008, we had a very thriving forum, and guys would just talk about stuff, tons of threads, and it came up. It came up in conversation. So I just ordered one randomly. I did. I wanted to try it out. I wanted to test it out. I wanted to overload. And the first impression is like the first set you use it, it feels a little bit weird and wobbly. And then the second set, it's almost like more normal. I think by workout two, it was just normal. And I like the overload. I like the support. I had benched from 1986 to about 2007 or 8, just crappy loose form. So my shoulders, I never had shoulder problems, but they probably weren't in the best condition. But being able to bench with a little bit of shoulder support, I think was a good thing. Now I'm benching completely without it. And, do I miss it? Not really. But I think it's a good tool to have. And I was sold on it to me. I really worked my overload, my lockouts hard with chains and with Slingshot. And I think it was beneficial. Big MCM. How important is breathing the right way when lifting? Very important. Look, when I'm watching client videos or I'm watching form videos, if I don't see somebody with a proper breathing and bracing pattern, it drives me nuts. It really does. Because proper breathing and bracing is kind of like pacing. It prepares you for the next rep. Like lat pull downs, doesn't matter, whatever exercises. I breathe and brace the same way. So we pull down, exhale during the rep. You let up. Before I pull down, I breathe and brace. Like I'm so used to breathing and bracing. Right. That's how you do it, right? On the lat pull down, something like that. But breathing and bracing, very important. If you're not breathing right, you're not bracing right. I'll see some guys try to do squats and they'll try to do 2 to 3 reps without taking a break. Without taking a breath. Like, don't do that. Breathing and bracing is very important. If you're not breathing right, you're not bracing right. If you're not bracing right, you're just going to be sloppy and loose, in my opinion. You're going to encourage sloppy reps. Big Tim, what would you suggest for someone looking to get? I don't suggest getting into neck training. I really, really don't. I know this is going to irk some of you guys, but neck and forearm training is, if you want to do a couple sets each a week, that's fine. But guys that want a big neck, guys that want big forearms, they think by adding in some extra work that it's going to immediately be a cure-all. And it's not. It's going to take 5 to 10 years to build that size anyway. And in the meantime, if you're just doing regular barbell work or you're doing regular hypertrophy work, your neck and your forearms are going to grow naturally from that work. So I'm not saying don't do it, but you need to understand that it's not magically just going to increase your neck and your forearm size. You're going to have to put in 5 to 10 years of hard work, and you're doing that already. So does my workout have a place for it, right? If you have some need from a specificity standpoint, like you're doing mixed martial arts, then it makes sense. But from hypertrophy, I'm not a fan for 2 reasons. Number one, your neck's going to get big anyway. I have never met an advanced lifter that didn't have a big neck. It gets big without a time investment just from everything else. You can't, like, if you're a pencil neck guy, and I was a pencil neck guy, so I'm not putting you down, and you want a bigger neck because you don't like having a small neck. You know, it's part of physical presence, right? Adding in neck work isn't really going to do anything. You're going to have to really progressively overload it, and you're going to get the same benefit just from normal training. Number 2, and this is an important one, and I want you guys as homework to Google this. Sleep apnea is a huge problem for big guys and advanced lifters. The more muscle and fat you have in your neck, the more pressure is in there, and the more likely you are to have sleep apnea. Sleep apnea is very much tied to necks that are 17 inches or bigger. So you start to compress, even if it's muscle, fat, whatever. Yes, fat's going to play a role in there, but muscle plays a role as well. All the big muscular guys I know with big necks have a degree of sleep apnea. They're not fat. So the question is, do you want to encourage sleep apnea by encouraging an extra ½ inch on your neck when you are going to get a big neck anyway? You're probably going to have to enter the sleep apnea world anyway. It's not something that's talked about, but it's a general health issue that I think we need to talk about when it comes to lifting. There's a couple major issues in lifting that we are still in the dark ages about. All the grip work contributes to overuse injury called elbow tendonitis. That's a major issue for any hard trainee. Another major issue is if we do get big, we are probably going to run into sleep apnea, and this is going to impact our sleep. I have this issue. Ask my wife, right? Nearly every bigger lifter I know, they don't have to be, they're not talking about fat, but they have a degree because of that big neck. So it helps to be leaner, obviously, but just something to keep in mind. Tim, I'm not trying to talk you out of it, but I do want to give you the pluses and minuses in this equation. All right, let me get a drink. If you guys are new here, post up your questions now. Post them up now. I love doing this every Friday. I'm here for you guys. The more questions you have, the better. So please don't be shy. You mentioned at some point that behind the back shrugs were a favorite of yours. Strict, very strict. You have to pull them above your glutes, the behind the back shrugs. So they're not a powerful movement. But I find, and this might not be the case for you, I find when I do behind the back shrugs that my rear delts are absolutely torched, my rear delts. So I find that amongst other things, yes, they're probably going to hit your traps, but I find them to be probably the best rear delt exercise of anything I've ever performed. Now, I did them back in the day, probably before 1990, and I didn't really think about them much, right? But when I came back to them last year, just start putzing around. Sometimes you just try and exercise for fun when you're bored. I halfway through the second set, my rear delts had such a nasty pump. Just an incredible amount of pain. I had to shut the set down. I never run into this. Never run into this. And I ran into it on behind the back shrugs. My rear delts were absolutely fried. So I would encourage you guys to give them a try as something that supplements your shruggy training, not as a replacement. Give them a try. Tell me if they don't hit your rear delts. I hope they do. Amanda P. Thoughts on sumo squats? Not a big fan, Amanda. I think for hypertrophy, we have gotten a little bit off the tracks. Like the wider stance squats, I like the more narrowish stance squats, more conventional. I believe for the average person, they're going to hit the quads a little bit better. And you go wide, I think, it's just going to be more hips. It's going to be less quads. It's okay as a powerlifting technique, but Amanda, I'm going to be honest with you, as a muscle building technique, I'm not really a fan of wide stance squats at all. Some individuals I coach need to do wider stance because of their limb lengths and leverages, and that's fine. We do what we can. So if going wider is the best option for you, then we probably have to do so. But Big Jonathan, Steve, you saw your post on realistic arm size. With everything on social media, how can we reset ourselves to have realistic expectations? I made a post today on Instagram at Ben the Barman. At Ben the Barman. I'm going to write that down below. Where I have a video when I was at about 260-ish. I don't know the exact weight. But I had a pump and my arm size was 19 inches and my body fat percentage was 30%. I'd started out at 346. Let me see if I can upload the video file. I think I can. Right now, 19 inches. 19 inches with a pump. 19 inches with a pump. Right there. So we'll watch it once more.
That's the biggest they've been at 250.
Okay. So
right now, 19 inches.
This was back right before my last powerlifting meet. And you can see I'm not lean. I'm not trying to pretend I'm lean here. I'm about 260 pounds, 30% body fat. And let me get this banner off here. It's driving me nuts. And this was with a pump at 19 inches, 30% body fat. So there's a lot of, I'm going to get 20-inch natural arms. Well, look, I'm not a limiter. I'm not trying to limit you guys. What I'm trying to give you is realistic expectations. What I said on Instagram.
19 inches with a pump.
What I said on Instagram was that if you're at 18% and under your body fat percentage and you hit 15 to 16-inch arms, you're doing pretty good lean. 17 is elite lean under 18% body fat. So that's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to limit anybody. I'm not trying to say anybody can't get X, Y, or Z. Some guys that have those big baseball biceps, it has a completely different shape. They're going to have naturally bigger If you have big triceps like mine and a big baseball bicep, yeah, you could maybe have 19.5-inch arms lean. I don't know. It could theoretically be possible. But realistic expectations are, if you're lean 18% and under, 15 to 16-inch arms are pretty good. They're good. And you're talking to somebody that coaches for a living, that sees numbers and statistics and arm sizes of trainees. 17-inch arms at 18% or under are very elite and very, very rare. So just keep that in mind. I really push hard to educate you guys. And sometimes in the process of trying to educate you, there's pushback. I've received pushback, like I've been called a limiter or a natural limiter, because I've been doing this for a long time. And do you know how many times I've heard I have 20-inch natural arms? You know how many times I've seen a picture? So I've earned a right to be skeptical, right? Because it's like, I'm not trying to be crude here, but it's like dick size. So like everybody's like, right? And it's like, you know what I'm saying? There's a couple of fitness salaries YouTubers, who kind of framed me as a limiter, which really lacks perspective. I don't try to limit anybody, but I will tell you, I've done the bicep photo pose against so many people over the years being in this industry, just doing a double biceps compared to people. And my arms lean are about 17.25 inches. And my arms are bigger than nearly everybody I've met, other than maybe the Hodge twins and a couple minor people. So 17-inch lean arms are very, very elite. 18% of body fat or under, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. And if somebody thinks I'm a limiter, meaning like you can't get 19-inch arms, that's not the game I'm playing. I'm trying to educate the average public. So, Stephen, your opinion is adding 5 pounds a month to one's bench as a beginner more than reasonable. I started out at 95 for 3 reps. My first workout, I remember it. And after like 2.5 years, I was at 275. So I gained about 180 pounds to my bench in 30 months. That's, a little bit over 5 pounds a month. Obviously, there was more rapid. And obviously, I'm probably kind of an outlier, a little bit mentally ill when it comes to chasing progression, right? And obsession and never missing a beat. But yeah, it's super reasonable. Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, I would, if you're slower than that, it would break my heart a little bit, right? I'd like to see you right at that. What's your opinion on alternating barbell bench and overhead press with Smith? You mean every other week, like doing bench 1 week, alternating bench and overhead press? Exercise variety, I don't know about double progression. Exercise variety is rarely a bad thing. So I would consider an overhead Smith and a Smith bench to be a secondary exercise to these big guys. So if you're going to alternate anything, I would put top tier like bench and incline, or dumbbell bench and dumbbell incline, or overhead press and dumbbell overhead press. So those would be my top tier. And then as a secondary, I would have like a Smith or machine overhead press, that sort of thing. Does that make sense? You can certainly do it. It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. It would be pretty reasonable, but I'm just kind of giving you an overall impression. I'm using a trap bar for RDLs. I'm doing 3 sets of 10 at 285. That's reasonable. Should the goal be to add more sets? No, we don't want to add more sets. We don't want to add more volume to RDLs. Definitely not to RDLs. RDLs are something, I'm going to say this, and I hope you can take this in the spirit of humor. RDLs are like the 10th or 15th year of a relationship or a marriage. You want to see your partner enough to keep things moving, but too much and it can get annoying, right? Just humor. But RDLs, you don't want to overwork. You don't want to add more sets. And you don't, if you're doing RDLs, 3 sets at 10 at 285, that's more than what I do right now. That's super strong for an RDL. That's about all you'll ever need as far as strength on an RDL. So I definitely wouldn't add volume. James, big, hairy, ugly dude. Are 15-inch arms on a 6-foot male considered? No, not small. I would say you hit bronze level. You hit a good stand. Like, there are a lot of guys out there with 13 and a half, 14 and a half inch arms that are trying to get to 15 inch. So you're in a good place, not small. I would say lifter good, right? It tells me you lift. If I look at 15-inch arms, I'm going to say this guy's put in some work. He has a base. So, can you tell us a little bit about your upcoming unreleased merch? T-shirts I just kind of put together. I don't have a lot of unreleased stuff. The things I'm working on right now, my side projects, I'm working on a training app like Strong or Heavy, but we're trying to make this bigger with more analytics and more focus for the general lifter, right? Like us, the muscle and strength builder. So we really want to have a great interface for tracking in the gym. Really fluid, agile. That's A1 priority. So we're working on that. I got another phone call this weekend with my developer. And this is, I don't want to jump into the pool too deep, but we're taking it very seriously. I am working on a big book, which is a monster book, unnamed at this point, but it's probably going to be a series of books. It's going to be a comprehensive compendium of everything I know, teach, every workout, every form tip. It's going to be absolutely monster. That's my big project. And those are the big things I'm working on. I got a lot of other minor projects, workouts, massive dynamic, reworking the 2-year plan, my 2-year workout plan from the ground up. So those are the big things. Blaine, how often do you rotate exercises? I don't really rotate them out, Blaine. I like the exercises I like, and I stick to those. You're going to find over time, you're going to develop preferences. I like this exercise. I don't like that exercise. And you're going to stick with the exercises you do like. So, I don't really rotate exercises out. Occasionally, I'll try something that I haven't done in a while. Like last year, I started behind the back shrugs again, just on a whim. And I'm like, wow, that was a lot more value than I remembered. I've started to do a hamstring day as I'm training 5 or 6 days a week now. And I'm doing wide stance good mornings and Dumbbell deadlifts. So I'm not rotating things out, but occasionally I'll try something new and work it back in. Does that make sense? Howie, good morning, big hairy ugly dude and Team Massive. Focus on the process as much is a much used quote. How would you apply it to building mass? I think a lot of people get impatient. Muscle building, strength building, and in my world, coaching folks for muscle and strength building is a very long process, right? it takes time and repetition. And we can start to doubt that we're doing the right thing. Am I seeing progress fast enough? Is this exercise good enough? Is this split the best? Right? A lot of those things can come in. So trusting the process is why I focus on the pillars of success. Do you have the pillars in place that create success? If you do, then you have to trust the process. Do I have a good exercise selection? Am I training consistently? Do I have a progressive overload approach? Or am I focusing on hard sets? Is my nutrition aligned with my weight goals, my muscle building goals? Is my form reasonable? If these are in place, then you're going to build muscle. You just have to wait, bite it out, and adapt. So that's really what it's about. Not making changes that waste your time, right? You can jump. If you have all the pillars of success in place, you can jump around on programs and start to waste your own time, even though you had everything in place to begin with. Does that make sense? Big, hairy, ugly dude, stop loading for stubborn accessory movements such as dumbbell curls. Stick with one weight for 3 to 4 weeks. Nah, it doesn't work like that. Lifting doesn't work like that. I mean, dumbbell curls, you could be stuck at 40s for a year. That's newbie stuff, right? That's wishful thinking newbie stuff. Lifting doesn't work like that in the real world. Like this year I've been more focused than ever on bodybuilding, returning back to bodybuilding. So I'm doing a lot more bicep work. And I'm slowly bringing up my easy bar curl to 70s or 73 sets of 10. But I can't just crush it for 3 to 4 weeks and arbitrarily move up. I hate arbitrary, and it doesn't work like that. This is the lie that linear progression tells us. Not linear periodization, linear progression. You're going to hit a hard wall quick. So this sort of thing doesn't last. It doesn't last at all. You can't just do that. On dumbbell, like on easy bar curls, you can't just add 5 pounds once a month. That's 60 pounds in a year. You're going to hit a wall after like 2 months. We have to be reasonable. If anybody teaches us, they're really naive about the process. So I hope you don't run into a teacher that tries to teach us, because it's linear progression in disguise, and it doesn't work. Lifting doesn't work like that. It's not just as easy as sticking to like 30-pound curls for a month and then deciding to jump to 35s. You're going to hit a wall. And then what do you do when you hit a wall? You're back to the type of training I teach. Barbell Bryce. How would you count a 2-minute block? I count it as 3 sets because it's pretty much an equal 3 sets. If you're doing 3 sets of 10 of dumbbell curls, you have 30 total reps. If you do a bulldozer rest pause principle, the rest pause protocol on dumbbell curls, you're doing 5 mini sets with resting about 15 to 20 seconds between mini sets, and your reps are going to add up to be about the same. So you're going to have a higher quality number of reps generally, and you're going to have about the same number, if not a little bit more. So they're going to be about equal. Ralph, my son says that even though I'm trending downwards because of age, I'm still going upwards because of training. It seems to me that eventually you reach a peak somewhere. I haven't found it yet, my friend. I am going to be 56 this year and training as hard as ever, if not harder. My training the last 2 weeks is as hard as ever. Now, it's not like that for everybody. We pick up different injuries. Like I pick up injuries. I pick up wear and tear. I'm human. I'm not inhuman. But I focus on what I can do. And what I can do, I am tearing it up. So I am not trending downwards yet. Will there come a time where I will trend down? Yeah. I don't know when that's going to be. 60, 62, 65. I used to know a 75-year-old guy in Columbia, South Carolina that was benching 315 for 6. Was he on a little TRT? Yeah, the dude's 75 years old, right? Who cares? You know, I mean, he's 75, man. He was killing me on bench. I'm like, dude, I would all the respect in the world. But TRT aside, you know, I really haven't seen a peak. Or I haven't seen, I mean, if you look at powerlifting records, obviously there's some decay, but I would argue that a lot of the decay is from a smaller lifting pool. And, you know, a lot of people do things that get themselves hurt. Heavy lifting can become hard, so it's a war of attrition. But if you're smart, I think you can keep going. And I think you can be stronger than the average lifter in the gym until the day you check out. That's my opinion. I think you look at all the guys in the gym, and I think even at age 70, if you're training smart, you can still be the strongest guy in the gym. I'll stand by that. Not the strongest, but probably the strongest in the gym most of the time. Does that make sense? The concept of progressive overload does not apply anymore. +1 will be over. That's fine. I still try to push, Ralph. I never hear what discussed that you should quit. Ralph, I am not trying to be argumentative, but you are not dead. There's got to be a next goal, a next mountain. There is for me. I'm in there fighting every day for +1s. Safely. Everything I do is compared to what I did last time. So, man, you're not dead. Ralph. Wake up, Ralph. Ralph, I love you. I don't know you, but man, +1s aren't over. Pushing isn't over. The day you stop pushing in life is the day you die. The day you stop trying to climb the mountain. Have a new goal. Have a new chapter. That's what I want every day I go in the gym's a +1. I'm not sliding down the mountain. I spent 3 or 4 years running a lot, and my lifting suffered. I still lifted, but it wasn't my primary focus. I never benched above 225. And this week, I benched 315 by 8. My bench is around 390, the same as it was when I competed last in powerlifting nearly 8 years ago. Now, will that one day decrease a little bit? Yes. Do I stop trying to push for +1s? No. You better start scrapping your ass up that damn dirt mountain, because the minute you start to let that mountain take your ass and slide you down, you're dead. You might as well just go to the bottom and start digging your hole. And I know that sounds like influencer crap, but I'm serious, man. I'm not a superhero. I can't go into the gym and not try to progress. Raphael, good morning. Looking forward to a great live. Thank you for tuning in. And Jay says, watching for the first time in a while. Appreciate you tuning in, guys. Big Sam, do you think a person would make a similar rate of progress on a body part? Yes. Said this 1,000 times, Sam, and I'm not being dismissive, but programs do not matter. The fact that we believe programs matter is an abomination. We're elevating some frequency over hard work. You get two guys, you give me two twins, and I get to start with them fresh, and I get them for 3 years. And they're going to use the same exercise, the same protocols, but we're just going to put them on two different splits. There's not going to be any difference after 3 years. None. And you got two ways you can process that. You can think I'm crazy, or you can realize you've been programmed to believe that one variable, program, matters above all else. And this is one of the biggest lies in the last 10 years in lifting. Program does not matter. How you structure your program, do you think that really matters if you're training hard? Oh no, if I only do chest once every 7 days, you know what? That's all I've ever done, really. 90% of my training. And I will tell you, there's a next level of hell when you train body part splits. It's deeper, it's more intense, it's more focused. Is it better? No. Is it different? Yes. Sam, there's no difference. There's going to be no difference over 3, 5, or 10 years. People were trying to elevate the importance of muscle protein synthesis into a mountain when it's trivial and applied over the course of, if you take somebody that's training 5 years, the program is not going to matter. Sam, why is there no consensus on how to train for strength training? Because program doesn't matter. It's more important that you find a program that matters to you and you kill it. All right, guys, we are about an hour in. Let's stretch our brains a little bit. I want to encourage you. I appreciate you guys watching. We're going to keep going, so don't go anywhere. If you have any more questions, post them up now. Don't wait till the end. Time to get rolling. Post them up now. We got a lot of questions in the queue, but I'm going to get to everything. So the more, the better. Before I continue forward, just a reminder, I'm looking for a couple coaching. I'm looking for a couple of folks that want coaching. So superlivingtoday.com, you can click the coaching tab. If you've never coached before, I work my ass off for my clients. I'm not a part-time coach. I don't mean disrespect, because most coaches are part-time coaches. They coach 5 people here and there for a little extra cash. Coaching is what I do for a living. It's my passion, my meat and potatoes. And I do not mess around on coaching. I give everything I can to every client every single day. I check in 5 days a week. We're interacting every single day. We're trying to evolve training. We're trying to comb through everything. I want to make sure you're on track. So if you've never had a coach before, I'm going to give you daily communication, daily questions, daily interactions, daily form checks, daily workout analysis. I watch everything you do every day. Now, some people put a lot into it and some people put less into it. But if you really want to amplify your gains, I'm going to help you fast track. So if you are eager for quality gains, give it a check. Just check out coaching. Now, over on my website, superlivingtoday.com, there's a workout tab. I've got tons of great workouts. I have something called the Massive Collection, which is 354 pages of nearly every workout I've ever done. I got apparel. I got some fun lifting stuff. I only make like a couple bucks per t-shirt. I'm not trying to be an apparel company, but if you want some cool lifting stuff, check that out. I also have a whey protein, which tastes amazing, and a creatine. So I'm not a supplement company. I'm not trying to be a supplement company. But if you want products you can trust, my manufacturer does not put out crap. We were going to put out some good stuff. I use the salty caramel protein. I love it. I use it every week. So does my wife. So check that out as well. And please follow me on Instagram at Ben the Barman. I do Q&As probably 3 times a week on Instagram as well. You know why? Because this is what I love to do. I'm not playing influencer. I'm going to die answering questions for you guys. That's how I'm going to go out. I'm going to be on live one day and I'm just going to go. That's how we're going out, because this is my life's work. This is not a game to me. This is not some influencer bullshit game. And I will tell you one thing, and I hope you never forget it. I do not like people that waste your time. And I'll always sort through the bullshit and show you the light, show you the true path. And I'll give you the best possible answer I can. And I'll always guarantee that to you guys. Steel Rat goes to gym. Client of mine, happy Friday, big hairy ugly dude. Thanks for tuning in. James, been doing pretty good on my cut. I'm messed up. That's okay. It's going to cause 1,000 calories isn't the end of the world. You're going to see a couple pounds gain on the scale of water weight. Not going to see a fat gain, really. Don't panic. Just get back right on track. If you start doing this 2 times a week, you're probably going to be at about maintenance level. So just try to get her back on track. Troy, client of mine, Big Troy. Happy Friday. Thank you, sir. Great to see the Massive Iron Posse and live. Bruce, a client of mine, Big Bruce. Any significant differences between safety squat bars? No, not really. I'm a big fan of safety squat bar nowadays. I think it's just better for your shoulders. The girthier you get, can we say girth? The girthier you get, the harder it is to get your hands back on a squat, and the more pressure it's going to place on your shoulders. So not really going to be any difference. In fact, a safety squat bar, we're going to have a tendency to probably squat a little bit more narrow in many cases. So don't overthink it. Use it as a tool. I think it's a good tool. So no, I don't notice any difference when I'm squatting. There are going to be some minor differences, some trivial differences somebody would bring up, but it's just simply not going to matter. James, in a year's time as a beginner, what is normally possible? Everybody's going to start somewhere different. So if I say 185 by 5, someone's going to say, my brother benched that in high school on his first. Yeah, I get it. After a year of hard training, we need to be at 185 by 5. Somewhere in early intermediate to intermediate, we need to be at 225 by 5. LV, I binged on Dr. Mike, reacting to celebrity workouts. Would love it if you do something similar. Anytime you guys want me to do a reaction, I'd love to look. I don't have time because I'm doing client work, but I'm always looking for video ideas. So if you guys see any workout that you think is shenanigans, or you just want my opinion, DM it to me on Instagram at benthebarman, or email at benthebarman@gmail.com, and I'd be happy to take a look. Where'd it go? Sorry, lost the question. Your elbows to knees tip for goblet squats may very well have finally got my safety bar squat kick-started. Has this worked for anybody else in your experience? Yes. The trick is, like, if you're having a problem getting your knees open on squats, think about goblet squatting. And when you squat down, you want to bring your knees to your elbows. Your knees are going to naturally open up a bit. You can't really do knees in, when you're doing a goblet squat. So I use a pick up the quarter drill to kind of do the same thing. It's one of the basics I use in teaching the squat. Big Mike M, any good reference videos for doing drag curls? There's some good videos out there. If you guys want a good video reference, I'm going to start putting out videos this fall out of my home gym in November, 100%. So watch for those coming at the end of the year and this fall. But if you guys need anything, just let me know and I'll pull one up. What actually is water weight? Okay, so conventionally, what we mean by water weight is if you're going about your normal eating, right? You're eating your chicken and rice and broccoli because that's what we do as bodybuilders, or whatever you're eating. You know what I'm saying. And you eat something different, have a night of drinking, overconsume calories, the scale jumps up 2, 3, 4 pounds. It's just water weight, right? What does that mean? If you take in a lot of extra processed food, junk food, sodium, salt, alcohol, or things that are going to really trigger the insulin to be released in your body's going to flood the bloodstream. A couple things happen with water, so it's going to kind of fight the poison a little bit. It's going to kind of recoil, and it's probably going to hold a little bit more water in case this is a new state. It gets very paranoid because you just flush the body with poisons. So it's going to be a little bit nervous. So it's probably going to hold a little bit of water weight to protect against that happening again. When you overconsume carbs or overconsume, say, sodium or processed crap, you can hold extra water in the cells. You can get a little bit of inflammation. So, does it help performance? Well, water weight in the conventional sense, like if somebody's gaining weekend water weight from a loose diet, the extra calories, extra glycogen could potentially provide some benefit for a good workout. I mean, eating is one of the fastest ways to improve your performance, being in a calorie surplus, but you have to balance that with eating yourself to death like I did as a power lifter. So water weight doesn't, but the mechanism, eating more, that's why we encourage bulking. Eating more, all the good things that go with it. Not being under in electrolytes, not being under in glycogen, not being under in resources. That can definitely help performance, and water weight is just a residual side effect of that. Does that make sense? That's a dumbed down explanation. Tim, Big Hairy Ugly, hope you're doing great. Thank you, sir. Thanks for the awesome info. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your support. Big Chris Jackson. Sounds like I should. Puberty. Hold on. Sorry. Sometimes you talk for 75 minutes straight and your voice doesn't like you. Sounds like I should commit to buying a scale. Any digital scale with some solid reviews on Amazon is going to serve you well. You don't really, there's a ton of them out there. Under 20, 25 bucks. So you just don't want to move it, right? If you get any grit under the feet, the pads of these scales, it can really throw it off. So you kind of want to keep it in the same position. But I would check Amazon and Walmart. I got a fancy Renfo scale that connects to my app. So it's nice. My weight can drop straight to my app. Fancy schmancy, right? I don't even remember what that is. So I would consider that if you want to go fancy schmancy. Barbell Bryce. You should consider having a monthly or weekly Zoom call. I was actually thinking about this morning. I used to do a Saturday one. I can do lives in Team Massive. We just need to set up time, and I can pull people in. I need to set up some time so people can get on. So I'll get on that today. Parsa, good morning. Thank you for tuning in. When doing bench or dumbbell pullovers, I feel a tightness in the top of my quads. I wouldn't say it's normal, but in these cases, I wouldn't say it's anything to worry about. A little bit of tightness. You're doing hard work. There's always going to be some weird things going on. When I bench, I almost always get lat cramps, which is really weird. What was your mindset back when you were fat and lifting? Well, when I was a big boy, my mindset was I couldn't look good. Like mentally, I was very depressed back then. So I'm like, I can't look good. And I really am depressed. I can't stop eating. So I'm just going to turn into this mountain, this big bearded power lifter thing. And I'm going to do that really well. So that was my mindset. I gave my all in my training. I really did. And I gave everything for it. And if it wasn't for my health going downhill, I probably would have stayed at it, but, to my detriment. Howie, how would you program if someone works out in a gym on Monday and Friday, but home on Wednesday? Well, I have clients that do this sort of thing. We just have to make sure the Wednesday workout is something you can do easily at home, really. So I hate to do legs at home unless you have some decent equipment. I really, really do. Because legs are tougher at home. Back can be tougher at home. So it would really depend on a lot of things, how frequently you can go to the gym. I'd want to do what I would probably consider doing. One thing you could do, I'm just thinking through this, so I'm not trying to bumble and stumble, but I would maybe consider doing a upper, like chest and shoulders. Hear me out on Monday, or workout A, chest and shoulders. Workout B, back and arms. Workout C, chest and shoulders. Workout D, back and arms. Now you're like, where's legs? I would tack on a leg exercise at the end of every workout, kind of frequency training. So we're combining frequency training and kind of an upper-lower split. So you could do squats at home on, say, Wednesday, or lunges at home on Wednesday, or Bulgarians at home on Wednesday. So you could kind of do a rotation. Does that make sense? It would get a little bit complicated, but that way, 3 days a week, you could adjust a little bit. You could squat at home, or you could squat at the gym. If you were forced to do legs at home on a Wednesday, you could do lunges or Bulgarian split squats. Does that make sense? Ben, for someone interested, check out Steve Coaching. Thank you, sir. My question for the day is, how often do you think you can bench per week? I don't like to overwork movement patterns, so generally 2 is my limit on squats and on bench. I would not bench more than 2 times a week. After that, you just need variety. I think you're going to benefit from variety. Andrew Wall, sign up for a trail run in 6 weeks. How long is it, Andrew? I need to know more details. So if it's 10 miles, 20K, like a half marathon. There's so many variables here. I'd like to know more, though, Andrew. The thing is, I need to know how you're training now, lifting. I need to know how you're running. This is a sort of thing that you really need to dive into the nuts and bolts. The best thing I could say would be to reduce your training to 3 days a week. You're lifting, maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Trail run maybe Tuesday, Thursday, and a longer run on Saturday. That would probably be the best structure. But that's rather generic because not everybody's going to be able just to squeeze into some arbitrary structure, right? MSG, hi. What would be the rep goal equivalent to the threes on the upper posterior? I do the threes protocol on bench squats, deadlifts, and overhead press. And if you don't know what threes is, go to the main page on this YouTube channel and search progression. So what would be a good rep goal? Around 25 is where I typically start. You could go as low as 20 for deadlifts and squats and bench and overhead press, because that would be an average of like 6.67 reps per set. You could do that. Also, what would you recommend to make it first two workouts a light or moderate workout, then the other two heavy? What would you recommend to make it first two workouts a light or moderate, then the other two heavy? I'm a little bit confused, and I'm not sure what you're trying to ask here. For running, no, we're not talking about running. We're talking about rep goal equivalent. I'm a little bit confused, so I'm just going to move on. Maybe you can re-rack and reword it. I'm one of those picky eaters. Ryan, I love you. I don't care. I'm a hard gainer. I do not care. People like that can't build muscle. People like that are going to struggle to build muscle because they're not willing to do what it takes. Look, Ryan, picky eaters. It's an excuse, and I'm going to tell you why it's an excuse. I'm going to defuse your excuse. And I want you guys to remember this whenever you run into a picky eater, okay? And I'm not being sarcastic. I'm just telling you there's a solution. Ryan, I want you to pick out right now, make a list on your computer or your phone, 5 protein sources you like. You get to pick. You're the picky eater, pick 5. Whey protein, protein bar, eggs, pork, whatever. Maybe you only get 4. Now I want you to pick out, because we're trying to get in our nutrition, we're trying to get in our micronutrients, 5 plant-based choices you like. Plant-based, I'm not talking about broccoli or cauliflower. I'm not telling you to eat broccoli. You like jalapenos? That's a plant-based choice. You like onions? You like strawberries? Corn, peas, black beans. You know what? I've seen many picky eaters drag their ass to Chipotle for lunch and have black beans, right? Salsa with tomatoes and onions and peppers, corn. So you get to pick. You get to pick 5 plant-based and 5 animal-based foods. You can make a world of a meal plan from that. You're not a hard gainer. You're an under-eater. And that requires planning and sticking to the plan. If you're not willing to stick to the plan when it comes to nutrition, you don't want to build muscle. You're somebody that's trapped in a world of excuses. And this isn't exclusive to picky eaters and hard gainers. People that become slaves to their excuses. They can become chained to their excuses. I can't succeed because my sleep isn't optimal. Boo-hoo. I can't gain because I'm a picky eater. Oh, are you a victim? Sad face. Much sad face from all of us. Many sad faces from all of us. I'm being sarcastic, but I'm doing so because I'm trying to use some hyperbole. I'm trying to express the fact that you're being a bitch. Okay? And some of you need to hear this, whether you like it or not. I need to hear it. We all need to hear it. Because I love you and I'm going to give you the truth. If you're chained to your excuses, you're already failed. You might as well just quit. Just quit. Because you're being a bitch. Those that succeed find a way. Those that don't succeed stay, I'm a picky eater. I can't gain because my sleep isn't optimal. My work schedule prevents me from having optimal training. Bullshit. I guarantee if I looked at what you eat during the week, I could find at least 5 protein and plant-based choices. You're not a picky eater. You're a lazy son of a bitch. Okay, and I mean that with love. You want to get to from point A to point B, then you need to do what it takes and set aside your excuses. You need to go over the mirror and look in the mirror and say, "Self, I'm full of shit," and then find a way. I love you, Ryan. Good luck. Sean, hello. Been following you since your days at Muscle and Strength. I appreciate that. Is there anything you would change today with Franco Man's dumbbell only workout? Wow, man, that's a good question. Back in the day when I was doing content at Muscle and Strength, that was a super popular workout. Let me pull it up. I haven't looked at Franco Man's dumbbell workout in forever. And, the comments I was making to the last guy, I say out of love, guys. I do. I don't want you guys to fail. All right, here's Franco Man's. I'm going to remove this, Sean, just for a moment. I was the editorial director at, or content director, whatever my title was, at Muscle and Strength. You can see this was released on the 10th. And this was a really popular workout. It had 3.9. I'm going to show you the workout. 3.9 million reads. Super popular. And I didn't write this, but as an editor, I had to put all this stuff up and whatever. So we got some arbitrary decreasing rep ranges. We could work with that. I mean, you could just do a 4x10 and then last set max safe reps. Nothing wrong with that. So chest and triceps, back and biceps, and then legs and shoulders. All right, fair enough. Let's see how the execution is. We got 3, 6, 9, 12. We got 20 sets for chest and triceps. That's fair. Incline dumbbell bench and dumbbell bench. All right, we got a couple of big ones. Dumbbell flies, I've kicked to the curb, and I'd probably put in a barrel press. Dumbbell skull crusher, fair. Dumbbell tricep kickback, fair. Single arm seated dumbbell extension, fair. All those are reasonable. You could do a single arm overhead extension. You're doing the dumbbell skull crushers, dumbbell kickbacks. All good. So really in that, the rep ranges are arbitrary, right? You can move the rep ranges and schemes around a little bit. But I would probably kick that dumbbell fly out of the curb and use a barrel press. I just think the barrel press is up and coming. All right, back and bicepticons. Single arm dumbbell rows, good. Bent over dumbbell row. That's like you're standing up. I'd probably do a chest supported row. And all this fancy schmancy, it's fancy schmancy day. All this fancy, all these 10, 12, 10, 10, 8, 10. I hate that shit, man. It's like, what does that even mean? We're changing weight. What does it even mean? So I'd probably just do a 5x10. What single arm dumbbell row, it's unilateral. So doing 5 sets, you're going to do 5 sets each arm. That's going to be super tedious. So I would probably chill on that a little bit. Maybe 3 or 4 sets. I do a chest supported row as a secondary. And because this is dumbbell only, we're assuming we don't have a pull-up bar. Dumbbell pullover. Yeah, you can really get a good lat focus like a lat prayer, but you really have to focus on the lats. So yeah, we could work with that. Is there anything we're missing? I mean, if you don't have a bench, you could just do regular bent over dumbbell rows, but that's going to be all right. Incline dumbbell curl, good. Standing dumbbell curl, good. Crossbody hammer curl, that's what we call a pinwheel curl. That's fine. So we have 10, 15, 20 sets, and then it's not bad. I'll probably chill a little bit on these. Maybe drop that to 3 and maybe add a couple there. All right, this is going to be a big, beefy day, legs and shoulders. This is probably where we're going to all go to die, right? 7, 11, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, like 33 sets. So this is a monster day. If I had to change anything, it would probably be to split this up and change it into a 4-day split. Dumbbell lunge, fine. Dumbbell step up. We'd probably put in Bulgarian split squats. You can get more out of it. The step up's harder to execute. Dumbbell squat. I don't like it because I feel like it it's harder to dumbbell squat because you have to open your knees, right? And when you're opening your knees, it's harder to have the dumbbells at your side. So I would probably do some combination of a superset, like a goblet squat and pause jump squats. Dumbbell stiff leg deadlift, that's fine. That's a lot of calf work. Optional, hashtag optional, to trim down this day a little bit. I'd probably kick dumbbell stiff leg deadlifts down to 3 and maybe my leg sets down to 3 just to trim the fat a little bit. Standing dumbbell press. Well, since we have an incline in here where we did a seated incline curl, I would do the seated dumbbell press. Dumbbell fly up, bent over fly up. That's all right. Yeah, it's just a lot of work. I'd probably trim that down. So that's what I would do. I hope that helps some. All right, soy sauce nanner. I'm 43, been working out for 6,000 years, 6 years. Lost 40 pounds and no deloads or any breaks. I think everything hurts, and I just didn't realize it. Losing weight over 6 years and not ever gaining any weight, you're probably pushing a lot of progression and you're probably picking up some cumulative fatigue. I don't know your specific situation, but are you doing any periods of bulking where you can be in a calorie surplus? We probably need to pace ourselves a little bit more. And especially if everything hurts, I would probably take a hard week off from the gym and come back with some sort of a bulk or a reduced volume plan, maybe 2 sets per exercise. A relevant user. Would you use chains and lifts if you're training? Well, chains are for lockout strength, and that's just a general more advanced strength technique as it is. So would I use it specifically for jiu-jitsu? No. I wouldn't use it specifically for any sport other than somebody that wanted to really work on advanced strength. You're going to get more bang for your buck for your lockouts. I think as a striker, if it got harder as you move up, I guess you could say that might be beneficial, but I don't really think it's going to make a world of difference compared to just regular squats and bench strength. I really, really don't. There's no downside. I just don't think it's going to add any benefit. Big James. Could we be massive bulking on the massive minimal? Yeah, absolutely. Massive minimal is, I want you to bulk. Our bulks in the massive iron world are never out of control. We're looking at 10 pounds, maybe 15 tops. Whatever you bulk, you'll be able to reel it in, right, real quick because you're not too far from home base. So, yeah, absolutely. You want to stick to the same protocol. You're never going to be too far from home. If you want, just stick with the 10-pound bulk over like 4 months. That's really safe, and then you can just knock out a 10-pound cut. You don't want to. On the other hand, if you don't bulk, you're really not going to get much at all out of these programs. You're just going to be hamstringing yourself. So I would definitely bulk. Big CJ, Chris Jackson. I'm okay. I'm working 10 to 12 hours, 6 days a week. That's a lot of work. I work in agriculture, so I get plenty of movement. Thanks for the concern and response. Thank you. Mr. Yakov. B stands for big, beefy, brutal Yakov. I'm making nice progress in all lifts. Good. Keeping it simple by varying rep ranges and sensibly increasing weight. For me, I've noticed barbell overhead press is a grind. Any tips? Make sure your nutrition is good. The presses suffer more than anything from inconsistent nutrition. And make sure your nutrition is nailed. Understand, be patient. Make sure you're getting in good quality, strong triceps work. And understand that the overhead press is going to be a grind. Most guys will never get to 225 by 5. A real good goal is 185 by 5. And for you lifters that are at like 95 by 5, you're looking at 90 pounds to get to what is called probably really strong on the overhead press. 90 pounds. That's about 14 plus ones. That could take you 2 to 3 years to get those plus ones. It could take you 36 months to get 14 plus ones. So a plus one every 2 to 3 months is probably normal. That's what we need to understand as a baseline. Done deal. Brandon. On your warm-up template, is that for your 1 rep max or top set? It's for whatever. I have a warm-up template that I have on my website, Super Living a Day, and I got the template on Instagram, whatever the hell it's called. I got a video on it here as well. Whatever you're starting, whatever the working weight is, whether it's a single, whether it's a triple, whether it's an 8-rep set. Marnix. In your programs, are the dips time push-ups supersets for triceps or chest mainly? Dips and push-ups are more of a chest-focused protocol. So we're really doing a focus on chest on the dips, and then we are trying to get a good quality chest feel as a superset on the push-ups. If you want to replace them, I'd probably do any other chest exercise, pec deck, barrel press, machine chest press, so on and so forth. Steel Rack goes to gym. What do you think about same muscle supersets? I'm okay with them. Usually on a secondary exercise, like cable laterals after dumbbell. Yeah, absolutely. As long as they're after a big muscle. You could do like a lateral. If you're like already have a pretty good strength base and you want to do a lateral like pre-fatigue a dumbbell before a dumbbell overhead press, you can. I know there's been a couple studies that say there's no benefit, but look, there's always a benefit to hard training. Forget the studies. That kind of whatever you do, as long as it makes sense and there's a focus on progressive overload, you'll be fine. Benefit, it encourages hard training, the hard training mindset. So I think there are benefits. I think I would rather do a heavy, hard exercise and then a light one than to come in with a little bit of fatigue and then do a heavy one. But I think once you push a muscle to the limit, like on a dumbbell overhead press, and you don't let it relax and you push it even further, I think there's always benefit in doing that. It would make sense. It makes common sense. It seems reasonable. What's your opinion about lockouts? Don't overthink this stuff. There's a whole cult of lockout out there. They're like, don't lock out, 3/4, halves, don't lock out this, don't lock out that. Relax. It's not a make or break thing. It's not. Anybody that says it is very biased. All you need to do is look at the complete landscape in the history of lifting, and you'll see lifters that don't do partials and lifters that lock out. It doesn't matter. It's all about hard training. Keep every lift natural feeling so it is sustainable. What do you think about lengthened partials? All the rage, all right? I don't think they really matter. And any of these things are side chicks or side tools. I don't mean to sound crude with side chicks, so I apologize, but we can't over-escalate the importance of these things. If you have a good quality exercise selection, you're never worried about lengthening partials, you're going to be 100% fine. They're a tool that you can use in certain circumstances if you like, but there's nothing you need to worry about. Nothing integral, nothing mandatory. If you go into the gym with an injury, how do you distinguish between some slight discomfort? You just have to. You have to be able to distinguish. You have to use sense, and when common sense, and when something feels, you always have to err on the side of caution. I never push any exercise where something feels off. So, slight discomfort, I got a wrist strain and I'm benching. Is it likely that my wrist is going to blow up or tear? Probably not. My lower back hurts and I'm going to squat. Is there a chance I'm going to make it worse? Yes. So we really have to just use common sense and always err on the side of caution. Have you ever done a landmine squat? Yes. Tried it. I don't like it. I'm just not a fan. If it works for you, go ahead. One of its sister exercises, the TRX squat. Not the same exact exercise. All right. I'm not a big fan of either. But if you can do it at home and you find value, absolutely use it. I'm currently on your PPAL, really loving it, glad to hear it. I'm looking to put on mass everywhere, building the 3 main lifts. Probably doesn't matter, to be honest, just want to confirm it. Yeah, that's a good program. I like the pacing on that, especially for someone that likes to lift, more frequently, 5 days a week or whatever. And I think moving the arms out of the push day really opens up some room. So yeah, you just work it hard until you're tired of it, and then move on to a different program. I have a home gym. Front squats never feel comfortable. Very common. Front squats have seasons in training where they're elevated into God tier, for quads. And they're not a bad exercise. But what they are is an exercise that ends up being uncomfortable for many, many lifters. For a variety of reasons. Can't keep the weight in place. Like when you're a big dude, it can really be a strain to keep that weight in place. And it can put a lot of pressure on your mid-back. They're not a mandatory lift. If they make you feel uncomfortable, don't hesitate to kick them off to the side. Big Paul, welcome. Good morning, Team Massive. Good to have you, Paul. Horned Frog. Long-time lifter, attained my natural genetic potential in my 50s. Now closing in on my 70s. Good to hear it. It's depressing to see both my strength and size decline. But I'm happy for you that you are continuing to lift. I am. Because you're well ahead of the curve. So the only thing I'd say to you is one of the things I've debated is like when I get that age, and I know you're closing in on 70s. When I get that age, would TRT be worth it? That's what I ask myself. Would I be on TRT to try to maintain some strength? I don't know. It's a lot of time and money to maintain strength, but you're doing good, man. I mean, just keep the focus on health. Do you think people would hit a wall faster on traditional power sets or using threes as a main progression? Do you think people would hit a wall faster? People will hit a wall on anything. Like there's no wall, really. The wall is the same. The wall is simply natural slowing down of progression. So there's no real, there's going to be no real difference. We're going to hit that natural slowing of progression no matter what scheme we use. Sometimes we have the training effect where we introduce a new variable, a new style, and it'll push us along a little bit. Introducing something new will push us a little bit. My adjustable dumbbell bench jumps from 60 to 75. I would do 75, and if that's too upright, what I used to do in the past was get a wood block and put it under the front foot of the bench so it raised the front up and reduced the angle a little bit. Does that make sense? You could do that with a yoga mat as well. You could fold it in half. It might only raise things a little bit, but that little increase in angle or increase in raising the front feet can decrease the angle a little bit. You can also just arch or get under it a little bit more. Plus ones or die. That's the title of the new book. Thanks. Do not go gentle into that good night. Amen. Do not. Is it really biologically harder to get lean when older? I've seen so many statements on age and metabolism. No. There is what we found out this year, is there's no real slowing down of metabolism. We slow down movement, right? We slow down movement a little bit. So like when you're a 3-year-old, you're like constantly doing everything, right? A 3-year-old is constantly doing this. And when you're 60, you're not doing that. Like you're more precise in your movement. You're just, it's not that you're weaker or whatever. You're just less active in general. So that's generally where the slowing comes on. We're moving a little bit less. There isn't really a metabolic slowdown. There's a reduction in movement over time. And some of that can just be soreness, stiffness, mobility, whatever, weight. I've seen people get really, really lean, older. So I don't think it's an issue. I think it comes down to food choice and metabolism. I think the biggest issue is a lack of movement. Movement gets reduced, and then we have to introduce more movement, and it feels like we're doing more cardio, but we have to because we're moving so much less. Does that make sense? Assuming that you're still training, when does muscle mass peak? There's no real peak, really. I mean, we're trying to create like a perfect scenario, and there's really not a lot. The problem is there's not a lot of people peaking in their 60s and 70s, right? Most people that like lifting start lifting very, very early on, right? And either they're like the average public, they're not anywhere close to their natural potential for a variety of reasons. It's just not a priority. Or, you know, they just aren't into it. You know, that when does mass peak, right? If you're training right, mass peaks probably after 8 to 10 years. You're still going to get a little bit, you know, year in and year out. But I think it's more to do with how hard training and how long you're doing hard training than anything else. And you're looking for specifics that don't exist. At what rate do you lose muscle? If you continue to train, you're not really going to lose muscle, right? It might be very, very slight in your 70s, but I don't know. There's not a lot of big guys, natural potential guys that are in their 70s. You could kind of look at Arnold as an example and say he's not what he used to be, but he doesn't look like he's on steroids. On the other hand, guys like Arnold and Sly in their 70s or whatever, they look great. They're not training for max muscle, though. They're training more for general. Like Arnold doesn't train like he used to. So I think a lot of it could be a function of how hard we can continue to train and just if we want to continue to train. Does that make sense? How much can supplements help mentally and physically if someone really feels they're working well? Mentally, probably a little bit of a bump. I mean, supplements aren't going to give a big bump. They're going to give a slight, you know, even creatine is only going to give a slight bump. But, you know, we have to determine if it's worth it. Creatine is one of the most studied ingredients in the history of supplements, and it's proven to provide a slight energy benefit. But is that slight 1% energy benefit worth it to you? You have to determine that. We know there's value. I take my ashwagandha, I take my D3, I take my B12, I take my multivitamin, I take my fish oil. At night, I take my melatonin. Mentally, what's the bump? I feel better about myself, right? I feel like I'm better when I have a structure and a plan. So some people can sometimes laugh at the bodybuilding lifestyle. Oh, you might be taking a supplement or a vitamin that someone thinks you don't need, right? Ha, ha, ha. What are you taking beta-alanine 4 times a day for? You know, there can be a part of the crowd, I would call them slightly immature. And somebody might say that's, you know, a bad way to frame it. You know, but I think we get a little bit naive when we discount the mental boost from having a structure, even when it comes to minor supplements. There's some supplements that are junk I never want you to take, like a fat burner. You know, like Tribulus, like a test booster. I think just a complete waste of money. You know, but there are some that have some reasonable benefit, even if it's only minor or trivial. And some people will just, you know, crack on other people for taking them. But, you know, I feel better when I have that structure. My wife takes, you know, she takes her collagen protein and her vitamins and all of her things. And it's all part of a lifestyle. And I think mentally sometimes just, you know, having that structure and that plan is beneficial. Does that make sense? Even if the benefit is trivial. I would rather have an eye towards health or land on the side of possible health than to mentally be in a place of cynicism. And again, I'm not trying to have anybody waste their money on junk supplements. I'd be the first. to call a junk supplement like Greg Doucette's NMN. I'm not ignorant. I wrote articles about it back in the day at Muscle and Strength. It was controversial back then. NMN. It's not the new creatine. I wouldn't have you spend your money on it. It needs a lot more science. So I'm not one to ever tell you to go spend money on junk supplements, but the ones that do have a reasonable benefit, if you have the money and you feel the motivation and the mental drive, the mental boost from taking them, by all means. Is it difficult on movements like RDLs and shrugs, even with straps? If it is difficult on movements like RDL shrugs, even with straps, is my grip strength too weak? I would have to know more. Like my Versa grips, my grip doesn't slip. So I can't rule out there's a chance that your grip is extremely weak to the point where there might be a problem. There could be. So I don't know. Just focus on what you can do and continue to work on it. If your grip is weak, you might need some additional grip work. You could do Captains of Crush grippers. You could do, that'd probably be a good place to start, just basic grip work. Alpha Destiny talks about how he trains optimally, but why is he taking so long to get to the size you got after 3 years of training? Well, why is he taking so long to get to the size? I don't know what his measurements are, right? And I don't know what his height is. I'm pretty sure Alex is shorter than I am. I think part of the confusion here is people are conflating how big I look. I was mentioning this on Team Massive. Like Jeffrey Verity Schofield is really good at showing his best pictures. And this is not a dig at all. He just looks like a monster. But I think if you had us all side by side, we would look fairly equal. I just look taller. Alec trains hard. Alec has good size. I haven't really seen him. I haven't watched his measurements. I don't know. I've known him forever. We've interacted forever. I don't know what his arm size has changed in the last 5 years. I don't know what his leg size has changed in the last 5 years. I was pretty close to my maximum. I wasn't at my maximum after 3 years. I was probably 85%. And then I think around 1997, and there was 3 years off from the military. So I think I had like 7 to 8 years of hard training before I was about as big as I am now. But, my arms really aren't that big. Lean, I barely hold on to 17-inch arms. I'm not sure where Alex's arms are. So I don't know that I think the issue here is that you might be thinking I was a lot bigger after 3 years than I was. I was probably at 80 to 85%. My arms after 3 years, I believe, are around 16.5. And I believe that's fairly accurate. I remember measuring back then, and they were about 16.5 inches after 3 years. Superman Kid, I prefer to train one body part a day. It's more fun. Let it rip and do it hard, my friend. Steve, do you have creative hobbies? Music and painting are big. I want to get more into painting. I painted I don't know if you guys ever seen this. I'll show you this real quick for fun, okay? I painted something for my wife. I painted something. We got a phone call. I painted something for my wife. And I'll show you guys. I want to get more into painting. Music, I let it run. I did my thing. But I'll show you the painting I did for my wife. I'm no master painter. but I enjoy it and I'd like to do it more. All right, here we go. Thanks for your patience. My wife has a shop and I'm trying to find the screen. This is what I painted for my wife. She wanted a painting for her shop, and this is what I call sketty legs. Just a little bit abstract. You can tell the technique sucks a little bit, but the composition wasn't bad for one of my paintings. So I like to paint. It's something I want to do more in November when I actually have my man space. I'm going to have a space downstairs where I can paint, and I want to get more into it because I enjoy it. And I like creative outlets. I tried music for a long, long time. I've been in the studio, I don't know, 7-10 times, recorded a lot of EPs and minor albums and even a major album that took 2 or 3 years to record. And a lot of it's really good. A lot of it sucks, but I was trying to hone my craft. So yeah, that's what I like to do. Let me get that out of here. And when cutting, how do you adjust calories during a week? You have been very active. Don't overthink it. You want to keep your calories about the same. But if you're very inactive, just drop them a little bit. If you're going to have a really inactive week, you probably want to, if you know in advance, you probably just want to drop calories just a little bit. Arctic to Tropics. Thank you, sir. I can vouch for Big Hairy Ugly Dude in this coaching. My job does not let me get to the gym, and he's still there every day motivating me when I go to the gym. Thank you. I appreciate that. I sincerely do. And I appreciate the opportunity. The one thing about myself is that I always want to do more. And every day I go to bed wishing I could do more. So if there's ever anything I can do more, let me know. Roberto, safety squat bar squats, very good, and you can do good mornings. Yeah, I like doing good mornings after squats. For those of you guys that want to kind of get away from the RDLs a little bit, you can actually do wide stance good mornings. And if you drive your butt back during a good morning like you do on an RDL, you can get the same hamstring stretch. I did that yesterday, as a matter of fact. If you do good mornings after squats, and I'm not telling you guys you have to do this, but because you already had the big weight on your back during squats, when you deload to a good morning, it just feels lighter. It's a really good transition. Got to 4 continuous pull-ups from 2. Nice work. It sounds, I'm not laughing at him. I'm like, I feel like this pain, like pull-ups are hard, man, for me. So an increase of 2 is a great increase. So I'm happy to see that. Opening my grip on bench has really helped alleviate tricep pressure. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you see guys doing a lot of benching that's too narrow, and it can be very triceps heavy and a little bit lighter on the chest. Johnny, Big Johnny Miles, thanks for the tomatoes and Frank's suggestion. Delicious. I'll tell you what, if you guys like tomatoes and you want a filling snack, when you want the Doritos, but you don't want the Doritos, I take some big juicy tomatoes, slice and put them in a bowl. Greek yogurt's optional. You can put in a container of plain Greek yogurt for creaminess and protein. Put in some Frank's Red Hot and some salt. And man, you got the spicy, the salty, the creamy. It can hit the spot when you need something that isn't going to make you a fatty. Howie, and you watch any series at the moment? We're watching From on MGM. I love it, man. We are like in season 2, episode 6, and I love it. But I'm a little bit nervous it's going to end up like Lost, where it keeps putting out these mysteries, but it can't tie them up at the end. So let's hope. Chaos. What do you do about shoulder tightness from bench? I mean, there's so many minor issues that we deal with as lifters. And it's got to be on a case-by-case basis. Is it muscular tightness? Is it joint stiffness? Does it have to happen after bench? I'm not an expert on rehab. Excuse me. We're losing our voice again. Rehab or physical therapy. That's a question you would probably need to talk to a sports, a PT, a physical therapist. Because I'm a suck it up guy. If you ask me, I'm just going to be like, suck it up. And that's not always the best case. You think that eating 20 grams of omega-3s a day is good. It's not going to be bad. One power lifter that benches 600 said it helps with inflammation. It might. But understand that dude probably, if he's benching 600, he's going to probably be a big unit. I'm not saying fat. I mean a big unit, like a big dude. And he's probably eating a lot. Now, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know who this is. But a lot of the bigger power lifters, the heavy power lifters, there's a chance they could be taking human growth hormone as well. So there's a lot of variables at play. So when we scale that down to us, do we need to be taking 20 grams of omega-3s? Inflammation's a real issue. Like, we don't talk about it enough. This is what I use for my inflammation, ibuprofen. We don't talk about it enough, but there's something called exercise-induced inflammation. When I go out and run a trail marathon, I can wake up the next day and be 3 to 4 pounds heavier from exercise-induced inflammation. You can have a hard workout and you can see a spike on the scale from muscular inflammation. So inflammation is a real thing. I mean, obviously the best way to manage it is through diet. Not doing a lot of crap carbs and that sort of thing. But you can certainly try this. I would scale up. I wouldn't immediately go into 20 grams, but I would scale up. Scott, did you adapt your leg training to your ultra running? Well, when I was running, I wasn't really doing a lot of intense leg training. It's very easy as an advanced lifter to maintain your muscle mass. So I didn't need to do a lot. An object in motion tends to stay in motion. It just needs a little bit of a push now and then. That's pretty much the same with muscle mass. I didn't do a lot of intense leg training. Pendulum squats and sissy squats and leg extensions and lighter squats. So I actually dialed down my leg training quite a bit. Asks a lot of excellent questions. I prompt you to answer at length. Yes, he does. And it's Nesgis. I don't know how you pronounce it. Nes Nesgis. So if I'm pronouncing that wrong, just send me a virtual slap. What's going on, dear aunt? One of my favorite people on social media. Tolga. Steve, what would you say your massive minimal program is optimal? Optimal is training hard, nailing your nutrition, having a good exercise selection, so on and so forth. So optimal is not a specific program. Optimal is most programs. We want to look for reasonable programs. If a program is reasonable, then it's good, and that's a very reasonable program. What's a good landmine press alternative? At home, you can do seated, standing, overheads with barbells. You can do pin press. You can do behind the neck variations. You can do 1.5 presses, 1/2 1, 1/2 1. You can do seated and standing dumbbell presses. You can do Arnold presses. You can do alternating dumbbell presses. You can do single arm standing dumbbell overhead presses. You can do upright rows. You can do high pulls, which are a little bit more momentum. You can do regular lateral raises. You can do the bulldozer lateral raise. So I think between those, you have some pretty good choices. I like high pulls rather than upright rows, a little bit more power. MCM, what's the recipe for ground venison you post on Instagram? Every night I have a pretty reasonable meal. I have a staple meal that's easy to recreate. Actually, just before 5 minutes before live, I got my meat delivery from Force of Nature Meats. I have no affiliation, but I get ground bison and ground venison because they're lean. And I got 20 packs of these things, 10 each for $260 delivered. That's my splurge, right? So the meat itself is like 550 calories per pack. What I do is I have instant rice or instant potatoes, and I get them going on the side, and then I put my meat in a skillet with a little bit of salt. And I have my pound of ground bison or my pound of ground venison, my taters or rice on the side. I mix those together, and I add in a diced tomato. I add in pearl or cocktail onions. They taste great, and they're a little bit extra nutrition. I add in jalapenos. And optional iceberg lettuce as a little bit of filler. I'm actually using your muscle and strength 4-day maximum mass right now. It's been treating me well. That's good to hear. Let me know if you have any questions about it. John Paul, Team Massive. Hi, Team Massive. Welcome to the party. Richard, can't beat a Friday live. Join Team Massive. Thank you, Richard. I appreciate it. Raphael, what's the difference, if any, between incline bench press and the shoulder press? Incline bench is usually like about 20 degrees. You don't want to overdo it. So it's just a slight variation of the flat bench. The problem with a lot of the benches at the commercial gyms is they're too aggressive. So, by moving to like a 70, 75 degree angle, you're mostly upright. So you're pressing overhead, whereas an incline, you're just pressing slightly off center. Big Dan Cook. When coming back from a layoff, you usually recommend a 10% drop in weight after 10 days away. You go right back to your working weight. Well, you kind of got to feel things out. Like if you're away from squats for, say, 12 days, you want to drop weight for about 10%. And then from there, I'm going to use my progression indicators to kind of creep back up. So let's say you hit, let's say you're at 250 for 8 on squats before you took a break. Just as an example, just apply this mathematically whatever way you want. Let's say you're at 250 by 8 before your break, and you come back and you drop 10% to 225, and you crush 10, right? Like, okay, I'm going to move up to 235 or 240 next time, just as a feeler, and then I'll get back to 250. If you only do 8, then I would just slow creep back up. Does that make sense? Any recovery and injury prevention advice for lifters who are almost purely for strength? Train your off seasons for muscle building, just power building like I do. Use VersaGrip Pros. Use VersaGrip Pros 100% to help prevent overuse grip injuries. And don't try to do the heavy low rep work year round. Build the base year round. That's the biggest thing. You see guys trying to do some really crazy things off season, like lift heavy year round. You need a base. Thanks for the live. The new Flash, Gal Gadot, still gets the wow effect. I'm so burned out on superhero movies, and like I tried to watch the one with The Rock, Black Adam or whatever, and like I'm just over it. It's not that it was a bad movie. I'm just so saturated. So me and my wife were sitting around and we're like, oh, the Flash is out this week. Let's just take a look at the trailer. And I'm thinking mentally it's probably going to be like another Ant-Man or some stupid crap I don't want to watch. It actually looks pretty good. You know, like the first, it felt like watching the first Doctor Strange, just a trailer, like really a good movie. The second Doctor Strange was a trash can. That was a trash can movie. That was probably the last Spider-Man was a trash can movie. I hate multiverse crap. That's just me personally. I don't hate you if you love it. But the last Doctor Strange and the last Spider-Man movie, I'm like tapped out. I'm like, I'm out of here. I'm not into this stuff. But the Flash actually got me interested. Spent a few days behind a shed in the soreness back in the gym with something else. Yeah, a few days of doing some odd manual labor. That'll set you right, man. That'll set you straight. Thoughts on someone at the high end of their body fat percent range maintaining for 6 months to recomp? Why waste the time? Why? You can do nothing but stay status quo for 6 months. No. The only reason to maintain is if like it's just not a good time to cut, but nah, you're just wasting gains time. Sam, would you say that the power shrug held protocol at the end of shoulder day is enough? Yeah, I think it's a good technique. And I think it's enough because you're getting a lot of traps work from your heavy overhead pressing. So I think it's a really good addition. And I think that's going to be plenty if you have RDLs in the mix and deadlifts in the mix, which are stressing your traps as well. James, how long does it take to lose water weight from overeating 1,000 calories? Usually if you overeat slightly, you're going to gain maybe 1 or 2 pounds of water weight. And it's going to take maybe 2 to 3 days tops to flush out. Big Sam, I found front squats feel better for me than high bar squats. Should I keep them? Yeah, if they feel better, absolutely. Whenever I do high bar, I always tweak my lower back. 100% definitely keep them in the mix. Is it a good idea to add 10 pounds on lifts that went down on a cut? No. Creep back up. Play the long game. Go up 5 pounds. Just play the long game. If I train my back twice a week, how many exercises sets on a pull day for back would you recommend? You want to start with about 12 hard sets per week. And for back, you could bump that up to 14, 15, or 16. So if you do, a lot of my clients that do 2 upper days a week or 2 posterior days a week, we might do 9 sets on back one day and 5 the next. You know, you could go upwards of 15. Or 3 exercises. I wouldn't do the same exercises twice a week. You want to get in a little variety. Would this be a good way to chins rows? It's okay. I would just get in some variety. Test boosters like Viagra work. I don't know that Viagra boosts your test, does it? Oh, it just boosted something else. I don't know. Out of my pay grade. Last call for questions, guys. We got 2 left. Last call. We're 2 hours and 20 minutes in. Could I barbell row twice a week? I would not do that. Work in some variety. Get a T-bar row, a dumbbell row, something else. Get in some variety. Variety is always a good idea. Almost always. If I train all muscles with similar volume, do I need to worry about things like, no. Just train hard for a number of years and everything will take care of itself. Is it possible to have low test levels but high sex drive? Yeah. The body is a very complicated system, and I'm no expert at this, but I would say so. All right, guys, that's it. We're out of here. 2 hours and 20 minutes. Don't go anywhere yet. Please, I'm looking for clients. I got a couple slots available, and now is the time to get in because once fall hits and bulking season hits, things really pick up. So if you're interested in coaching, head over to superlivingtoday.com or go to my Instagram. You can sign up on the link on my Instagram. And follow me on Instagram at Ben the Barman. If you want to come sit on Santa's lap.
Ho, ho, ho.
Yeah.
Jolly
What do you want for Christmas? You want to climb to the North Pole?
I was trying to think of something witty, but I couldn't. I wasn't that quick and witty.
Yeah. You head over to my website, superlivingtoday.com. Check out the workouts tab.
You might get a free dog.
And you get a free dog with every purchase.
A free sausage dog.
All right, we got 3 more comments. Hold on. You want to click the comments tab on the upper with the mouse, not with your finger.
Where's the comments tab?
Where it says 4.
Oh, where it says comments.
Yeah. Go to Marvin.
Swimming. Click on it.
Yeah. Then you read it.
Swimming on the dog saying swimming on off days better than just slow. The dog is having an allergic reaction.
I'm not sure what you mean, Marvin. Sorry.
Slow, do you mean like swim on off days slow just you get some cardio in preference to go on full blown speed? That's what I'm guessing.
I'm a big fan of staying active in general. So do what you love, swim on off days, absolutely.
Some days I feel like shit and I just go
you
and
can't say naughty words on there.
I just go and it's not a naughty word.
It isn't. Shit's a naughty word.
And then I just go to the gym and I just do.
You're not allowed to say fuck
best
shit.
I can possibly do on that day. Ass is a donkey.
Click on the next one. A donkey. Next one down below.
This one.
Yep. Since you're at 90% of your genetic potential, you're not really progressing because I love it, man. That's why. Simple as that. I'm not going to do pussy training. I don't. I'm going to still trying to. It's not about muscle mass.
97+% of your genetic potential.
This is what I do. I climb mountains because I like climbing mountains.
I think I'm lazy, and I think I'm probably at 70% of my potential. I do.
All right.
I feel like a lazy slob.
And whoa, Steve. Yeah, I probably said something naughty. Anyway, guys, head over to my website. Check out the workouts tab. Check out the workouts tab.
So green.
Check out the
big boob, delicious biceps.
Yeah, big biceps.
Let's go.
Yeah, check out the
and then
apparel tab.
It's making me hot.
All right, we're out of here.
Stop it! That's naughty. Everyone's gonna think you're inappropriate.
That was R-rated.